Tonight we shall turn our attention ever so gently to an object so ubiquitous, so utterly commonplace, that it often escapes our notice entirely. An object we interact with countless times each day, often without a second thought. We speak, of course, of the humble doorknob. Close your eyes if you wish. Let the soft, rhythmic patter of the distant rain outside, or the gentle warmth of an imagined hearth, lull your thoughts into a peaceful state. And as your mind begins to drift, let us ponder together the surprisingly unexciting, yet curiously persistent journey of the doorknob. For millennia, the concept of a door has existed as a fundamental boundary, a threshold between inside and out, private and public, safety and uncertainty. But what of the means by which these doors were secured, or indeed simply opened and closed? Before the doorknob as we know it, there were other ways, simpler ways, less refined ways. Imagine, if you will, the earliest human dwellings, perhaps a cave entrance, blocked by a heavy stone, or a hide stretched across an opening. To enter, one simply moved the obstruction. No knob required, as shelters evolved into structures with framed openings. The need for a more convenient method of ingress and egress slowly, almost imperceptibly, emerged. Initially, doors might have been held shut by a simple wedge or a heavy bar slid across the interior. Think of the ancient farm door, secured with a sturdy wooden beam. To open it from the outside, one might have needed to reach through a small hole or simply push with considerable force. There was little elegance, little mechanical ingenuity, just raw practicality. Then came the latches, simple, often wooden, mechanisms that caught on a strike plate. A vertical bar might pivot down into a notch. To open, you'd lift the bar. This was progress, certainly. It allowed a door to be held shut more reliably against a breeze or against the casual wanderer, but still, no knob, just a simple lever or a handhold to pull. These early latches were in many ways the ancestors of our modern mechanisms. They demonstrated the fundamental principle of engagement and disengagement. They were often crafted by the homeowner or a local carpenter, each one unique, bearing the marks of individual skill or perhaps charming amateurishness. The sound of a wooden latch clunking into place, a satisfying, rustic sound, a sound of closure and simple security. As societies became more complex and property more valued, the need for enhanced security grew. Simple latches could be easily manipulated, and so the concept of a bolt emerged. A solid piece of metal or wood pushed into a receiving hole in the doorframe. These could be operated by hand or later by a simple key. But still, the primary interface was often a handle or a small projection rather than a rotating knob. The true innovation, the subtle shift that led us to the doorknob we recognize today, came with the introduction of the spindle. Imagine a square rod of metal passing through the door. On either side, attached to this spindle, were handles or, eventually, the first rudimentary knobs. When one of these handles or early knobs was turned, the spindle rotated, and with it an internal mechanism, often a latch bolt, would retract. This was a significant leap. It allowed the door to be opened with a single rotational motion rather than a lift and a pull. The earliest doorknobs were not the perfectly spherical or ergonomic shapes we often see today. They were often more faceted or squarish, crafted from wood or cast iron. They reflected the craftsmanship of their era. In colonial America, for instance, wooden knobs were common, turned on a lathe, sometimes plain, sometimes with simple decorative rings. They offered a warm, tactile experience, a direct connection to the natural material. As the Industrial Revolution began to stir, the manufacturing of doorknobs started to shift from individual artisans to factories. This meant greater standardization, more uniform production, and eventually a wider variety of materials and designs. Cast iron became prevalent, offering durability and the ability to produce more intricate, if somewhat rough, patterns. The sounds of the factory, the clang of metal, the hiss of steam, slowly replaced the quiet tap, tap, tap of the hand craftsman. The mid-19th century was a period of significant growth for doorknob diversity. As homes became more elaborate and distinct architectural styles emerged, so too did the demand for doorknobs that matched these aesthetics. Victorian homes, for example, often featured highly ornate doorknobs made from brass, bronze, or even porcelain. These weren't just functional. They were statements of wealth and taste, small sculptures in miniature. Consider the porcelain doorknob. Smooth, cool to the touch, often white or cream, sometimes with delicate floral patterns. They represented a certain refinement, a cleanliness, but they also had a tendency to chip or crack if struck too hard, a small fragility in an otherwise robust mechanism. The gentle click of a porcelain knob, a softer sound than metal, perhaps. Brass doorknobs, on the other hand, offered a warm, golden sheen. They tarnished over time, developing a rich patina that spoke of age and countless interactions. Polishing them was a task for housekeepers, a repetitive, almost meditative act, bringing back the shine briefly before the inevitable dulling began again. Each turn, each grip, slowly wore away at the metal, leaving a subtle record of human touch. The internal mechanisms of doorknobs also underwent quiet revolutions. The basic latch bolt, operated by the spindle, remained central. But variations emerged. Privacy knobs for bathrooms and bedrooms, often with a simple push-button lock on one side. Passage knobs for closets or connecting rooms, which simply turned to open without locking. And keyed entry knobs for exterior doors, introducing a whole new layer of complex pin tumblers and springs. The design of the rose, or escutcheon, the plate against the door that the knob sits on, also evolved, from simple plain circles to ornate, elongated plates that might incorporate the keyhole. These provided not just aesthetic appeal, but also helped to protect the door's surface from wear and tear. Imagine the subtle contours of a Victorian escutcheon, the way it catches the light, a tiny piece of architectural jewelry. As the 20th century dawned, a new emphasis on efficiency and mass production took hold. Simpler, more streamlined designs became common. Stainless steel, aluminum, and eventually plastics entered the doorknob material palette. The shift was from artisanal flair to industrial practicality. Doorknobs became more uniform, more functional, less individual. They served their purpose quietly, efficiently, without drawing undue attention. Think of the standardization, the ability to replace a broken doorknob with an identical one purchased from a hardware store. This convenience, while seemingly mundane, was a testament to the power of mass manufacturing and interchangeability. No longer did a broken knob require a custom blacksmith or wood turner. Just a trip to the local shop and a few turns of a screwdriver. Even in modern times, as smart homes and electronic locks gain popularity, the fundamental doorknob persists. Its simple, intuitive mechanism remains a fallback, a testament to its enduring design. The gentle turning motion, satisfying click as the latch retracts, the quiet swing of the door. These are small, almost unconscious movements that punctuate our days. And so, we have journeyed through the surprisingly quiet and unassuming history of the doorknob. From simple wooden wedges to ornate brass, from humble handles to the elegant rotation of a modern mechanism. It is a history not of dramatic battles or grand pronouncements, but of steady, incremental progress driven by the simple human need for enclosure, for privacy, and for convenient access. It reminds us that even the most ordinary objects around us carry stories, however subtle, however unexciting. They are woven into the fabric of our daily lives, silent witnesses to generations of comings and goings. Let the quiet contemplation of this everyday marvel gently guide your thoughts now. Feel the weight of the history, the slow turning of time, just as a doorknob turns in your hand. Let the subtle hum of the world fade into the background, allowing your mind to relax, to settle, prepare for a deep and peaceful rest. The journey of the doorknob, much like the journey of sleep, is a slow and steady process, leading you gently from one state to another. Good night, dear listener. May your rest be profound and undisturbed.